You're watching Estuary News. I'm Luke Adams. Coming up tonight, we'll have a roundup of the latest news headlines and all the latest sports news ahead of the weekend. And I'll be reviewing the week's regional papers with my guest, Jane Wenham-White. But first tonight, a second man has been arrested in connection with the death of a man from Cleethorpes. The 44-year-old suspect was arrested at an address in Rutland Street in Grimsby last night as part of an ongoing investigation into the death of Sean Lyle. He was found dead at an address in Sydney Street in Cleethorpes on Tuesday evening. Police say a guard is in place at the scene and will remain there for several days while investigations are completed. A 50-year-old man appeared before Grimsby Magistrates Court this morning. Colin Clarkson of Heneage Road in Grimsby is charged with the attempted murder of a man outside a supermarket in the town. He's also charged with possession of a bladed article and possession of an offensive weapon. A public service to mark the life of the former Lord Lieutenant for North Yorkshire was held today. Barry Dodd, CBE, was the Pro-Chancellor of the University of Hull. He died in a helicopter crash in North Yorkshire in May. He was also the chair of the Hull York Medical School and previously was the chairman of the York, North Yorkshire and East Riding Enterprise Partnership. The service was held at York Minster. The banking group Lloyds has announced it plans to close its Lincoln branch. The branch on Bailgate will close in November, with further sites across Lincolnshire expected to close next year. Bosses say the closure comes as a result of more customers using online banking services. 14 employees from Siemens in Hull have been suspended after they left work to watch England play in the World Cup semi-final match. The workers were on their night shift and weren't paid during the game. Siemens says the workers have been suspended on full pay into potential breaches of health and safety rules. Prisoners will be taught specialist IT and computer skills. The government says it will give inmates a better chance of employment. Prisoners at HMP Humber in East Yorkshire are the only ones in Europe being taught the skills. The new scheme aims to reduce the likelihood of reoffending. More than 20,000 people will descend on Hornsea this weekend for the annual Carnival. The three-day event starts tonight, where there will be fireworks and a fairground in Hallgarth Park. The Carnival takes place tomorrow at lunchtime. The event will mark the end of Treasurer Ruth Skinner's involvement after 23 years. I spoke to Alan Isles, chairman of the Carnival, on the sofa early this month to find out what's in store.
We've got a really good parade. Really long parade this year as well. Lots of local community groups getting involved, and we've also got a special 999 rescue village being as well in the park this year, and there'll be a lot of vintage vehicles from rescue vehicles and stuff in the parade as well for that. Yeah, and all our usuals. Starts off on the Friday night with our fireworks. We've also got live music events again on both evenings.
More than 4,000 people will hit the streets of Grimsby this weekend. The Great Grimsby 10K will see runners competing across the town before reaching the finishing line at People's Park. There will be entertainment during the day, including Cleethorpes Brass Band and Grimsby Sambalada. More than 400 volunteers will be on hand to ensure the event runs smoothly. An exhibition celebrating 70 years of the NHS will be on display in Hull next week. Hull and East Yorkshire Hospital's NHS Trust will be showing 70s uniforms, antique medical equipment and photographs. People will be able to travel through the decades to see how health services have evolved before, during and after the creation of the National Health Service. The exhibition will be at the Medical Education Centre at Hull Royal Infirmary on Tuesday. A microbrewery in Hull is adding a bit of fizz to the menu at Trinity Market. Fellows and Victual is developing a range of ales after the market was granted a licence by the local authority to serve alcohol. The owner, Richard Rocket, brews and bottles his beers on site. The market was transformed last year following a £3 million refurbishment programme. A special weekend of events held at the Beachcomber in Cleethorpes has raised thousands of pounds for charity. A cheque for more than £2,500 was handed over to the Grimsby, Cleethorpes and District Marie Curie fundraiser group this afternoon. The Golden Daffodil weekend last month involved a Shadows tribute band and a car and motorcycle display. A number of local companies also joined forces to produce hundreds of metal daffodils, with the money raised going to the Marie Curie charity. Mick Plant, organiser of the event, was there to see the cheque handed over.
We've had a cheque presentation to Marie Curie, £2,500, presented by DFDS, one of the sponsors. We have still got some daffodils left if anybody wants to buy any. If you go on my website or my email address, mickm.plant@live.co.uk, I can give people a list where they can buy the daffodils from still. We're looking to raise about £7,000 if we can get rid of the rest of the daffodils.
Still think there's a lot of money to be raised. There's 480 left, and whatever they sell now, it's all profit. So looking at a good figure when it's all finished. But they've done well so far with 2,500. So great stuff. Got to take half to Mick organising it all. I see him every Thursday morning at 6:30. He's so excited about it. He was so. It's been a success, I think, hasn't it? Yeah.
It means a lot to us, really. We set the group up about 7 years ago, and we have a small group of members who are very keen to do fundraising events. And we're really committed because all the money that's raised will go to local people. So it's all for people with terminal illness. And it means that Marie Curie nurses, there are 10 Marie Curie nurses locally, and it means that they can support people through the night and support families. So you know, over £2,000 that was raised, the £2,000, well, it was more than 2,000 that was raised, will mean such a lot.
I think when next springtime comes, when the daffodils come out for real and these things are on show, they're going to go off the shelf. They'll probably want more making, so we'll see.
Time to have a look through the week's papers now with my guest, Jane Wenham-White. Good evening, Jane. Welcome to the programme.
Good evening,
Lovely
thank you.
to see you.
Lovely to be here.
Thank you very much. You were once working at St Andrew's Hospital for about 22 years, but you are now a lady of leisure.
Well, sort of, but I seem to be very busy, Luke. I'm one of those people that generate my own sort of stress, etc. But it has been quite lovely after so long sort of working full time. And as we said earlier on, working at the hospice was it wasn't just a job, it was a lifestyle, if you like. I never switched off, and I loved it. I enjoyed every minute of it. But it's really nice to have some time now to be able to spend more time with friends and do some of the things I never had time to do before, and also spend time with my husband as well, which I didn't see him very often before. So I'm really enjoying it. Yes, thank you.
Well deserved.
Thank
Jane,
you.
You've picked up some great stories I see there. What's the first one we're going to talk about?
The first one is about Scunthorpe Steel, and just British Steel rather, in Scunthorpe, announcing a £50 million upgrade. They turned over 1.4 billion last year, which is an increase of 0.2 billion. So it looks like it's small but increases, but I think it's on its way, and the investment seems to be working. And they've got 500 billion contracts out for the possibility they might gain. So it's all looking very, very positive. I think it's really, really good news because they've had very, very difficult times, haven't they, in Scunthorpe with British Steel. So at the moment it's looking as if they're on track, and at least money's being pumped into the company, so hopefully it'll go on from strength to strength.
We reported on this story early in the week, and we said that there's going to be job growth as well, which,
yes,
as you say, it's obviously good for the local economy.
Absolutely,
and the infrastructure and employment in the area.
Yeah, brilliant, yeah, really good news.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next story, Jane?
Well, it's a bit of a double-edged sword in a way, talking about Brexit and the fact that actually Hull has benefited quite a lot from actually EU money coming in to actually develop the area. And I think the concern is that once we do leave the European Union, that money will be given back to the central government, and the chances are that actually money won't be actually given out to sort of smaller towns like Hull, but actually will go back to sort of places like Manchester and Sheffield, some of the bigger sites. And I think that is a major concern because the EU, from the little I did in terms of funding, they were very much looking at giving money to sort of, if you like, smaller cities, smaller towns, to help them sort of regenerate, as opposed to actually bagging money into places like London and Manchester that already are quite wealthy and thriving. Yeah. So I think that's the concern, that actually, Hull may miss out when we actually do leave, which is of concern. Let's hope it doesn't happen, but that is obviously a concern.
And do you think, obviously, last year Hull celebrated City of Culture, do you think that was a good thing for Hull in terms of, regeneration and putting Hull on the map?
I think it was fantastic. I mean, I've been to Hull several times during that year, and just to see the changes that have actually emerged, from the input of money and the interest. I just hope it can be sustained. That's my only concern. But with the big conference centre that's being built, hopefully it'll bring new people into the area, and there's lots going on with all the wind farms, etc. So I hope it goes from strength to strength.
And the Siemens plant, of course, is coming on the Humber Bank as well. So there's lots of growth in the area, like
there
you
is,
say, isn't there?
It's just trying to maintain that, really, not let it fall by the wayside.
Excellent. OK. This one here, Jenny. Cheap foreign workers being prioritised for offshore jobs. This is in Wednesday's Hull Daily Mail.
Yeah, I mean, the story obviously is about them bringing in cheap labour and not employing local people. It's all about money, isn't it? They can employ gangs from I don't know wherever at a much cheaper rate than they can afford to actually employ people here at minimum wages, etc., etc. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Mm. A very difficult one.
It is.
I can see both sides of the story in a way.
And it says here, Jane, in the article that the wind farm is going to be built in Hornsey, so obviously a lot of people will probably come in, as you say, from maybe other countries to gain employment in this area, which again would be good for the economy and job growth and that kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. But it's a very difficult question to answer, isn't it? Very, very difficult.
It is. What's our next story, please, Jane?
This is my nice little story about the butterflies. David Attenborough today launched a request that people actually started to actually help count the butterflies. I'm not quite sure how people are going to count the butterflies, because my experience is they kind of flutter about and go all over the place. But he's also sort of promoting the fact that obviously watching wildlife, taking some time out of not looking at your phone and actually looking at what's around you, and maybe not taking a photograph of it, but just actually looking is quite a stressless thing to do, and actually very good for the soul.
Absolutely, and getting very familiar with nature.
Absolutely.
Jane, we'll stop there for now, but more in part 2. Join me after the break when we'll continue our review of the week's papers, and Rob Dawley has all the latest sports news. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, all the latest sports news from Rob Dawley. Now, still with me in the studio, Jane Wenham-White, as we continue our review of the week's papers. Jane, what's our next story?
Well, I thought this is really good fun. One of the North London tube stations has been renamed Gareth Southgate, just for the day, I think, but just to celebrate the achievement of the England team in the World Cup. And I think everybody was quite taken aback at how well they played, how well Gareth Southgate actually managed them, and then I think people say I'm not a great. Are you a great football lover?
Sadly not.
No, I'm not either.
Sadly
I know nothing about it. But listening to the sort of feedback I got from other sort of friends, they were saying how what was nice to see was that they were all young footballers and all were keen to play the game and not to kind of hog the limelight. They wanted to play the game and they wanted to win, and they didn't want to be prima donnas. They just wanted to play with their team members and play well. Yeah. And I think that was really nice, and they did well to get where they got to.
And from what I saw little snippets of the football, and England did play very well, and it was good that they got so far in the World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So,
but it is very patriotic to support your own country, though, I have to say.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that was just for the day, was it, Jen? That
just
it was
for the day. It's been
Southgate?
taken down tonight, I think, which is a shame, really. But anyway, it does show their appreciation.
A great tribute to Gareth Southgate. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cleethorpes Coast Light Railway.
Now, this is close to my heart, this is, because I was actually on this on Tuesday.
Okay.
I had a friend came up from Stoke, actually, and he's a great railway enthusiast. So I thought, what else? But it'll go on the railway. And it was, after 20 odd years, I've never actually been on the railway. They used to be very, very good at supporting the hospice when I worked at the hospice. But they've actually got 250,000 expansion plan, and it's they're actually taking the line further along the track, so that actually people can actually do all sorts of different bits and pieces. So actually use it as a mode of transport as opposed to just a sort of little excursion. But it was great fun. It's quite cheap. It was £4.50. And it's about a 45 minutes sort of round trip at the moment, but obviously they're hoping to extend that. And also people can get on and off, and kids love it, and people are waving to us as we went past. It's great.
It's a great family day.
Yeah, lovely tourist attraction.
Now, of course, the summer holidays are approaching, and like you say, it's good that they've got that investment, which gives them that ability to expand.
Yeah. And have you ever been to the little bar? They've got a little tiny bar there.
Yes.
I think there's one chair for somebody to sit there, but it's superb. Yeah, it really is lovely.
Very cute. It's very unspoilt almost, isn't it, that whole area?
Yeah, it's just it's like an old kind of like old sort of seaside towns used to be. It's got that kind of feel about it, really.
Yeah. So happy 70th birthday to the Cleethorpes Coast Light Railway, and here's to the next 70 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We're stepping back in time now, I see here, Jane.
Well, yes, this is the front page of the Hull Daily Mail. In July the 15th, 1970, 48 years ago, 50 years ago. And the bit that sort of stood out was actually Hull at standstill as dockers defy unions' plea to stay at work, and they all sort of went out on strike for better pay, causing absolute chaos. But I think it's weird looking at that paper, how dated it looks. It's not even 50 years old, but how dated that whole thing actually looks,
How things have changed.
And how things have changed, like the docks and
that was in 1970.
Yeah.
My goodness. Excellent. Okay. This is about shopping centres now.
Yes. Well, we've been talking about, I think, the fact that so many shops are closing down. The high street is suffering greatly. But I thought this was just good fun because there's an article on Tuesday's Hull Daily Mail, and it's about the ghosts in the various shopping centres in Hull. And but it's quite interesting some of the history because St Stephen's apparently was actually built on top of a graveyard,
Okay.
and the graves were actually, or the gravestones were moved away. But of course, there are now sightings of people who perhaps didn't like being moved.
Right.
Actually, at St Stephen's, there's all sorts of different, quite interesting stuff here. There's one, I think was it North Point at Prospect Centre. There used to be a Royal Infirmary there, a hospital there, and now they're seeing sort of people crying and people wandering around in their night clothes. So I'm a bit sceptical about these sort of things, but it's quite an interesting little article about St Andrew's Shopping Centre, Prospect Centre, North Point, Princes Quay and St Stephen's.
Okay.
About all the ghosts that have, there's a guy, local historian Mike Covell's recently organised some ghost walks around the Prospect Centre. Yes, he's a great local historian
who does some great historic walks.
So I think that's just...
Yeah, nice story.
Nice.
Well, that kind of links, Jane, to my first story I picked out here, which is from Monday's Hull Daily Mail. Love Label's new addition to St Stephen's is for you. So a positive one, I feel, because obviously we're seeing rapid change in the high street now, aren't we? Like with the demise of House of Fraser, which is closing in Hull and Grimsby. Massive site to fill in Hull.
Absolutely, yeah.
And obviously the banking, a lot of our banks are leaving the high street, as we reported at the top of the programme there. So it's good that there is still investment and confidence in retailers wanting to come to the high street. This is a chain called Flannels, and they opened in the former Body Shop unit in St Stephen's last weekend.
Oh, interesting. I hope they do well.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Other good news here. This is from Monday's Hull Daily Mail. Humber is set to become a careers hub.
Oh, excellent.
So it's saying here that the Humber has been selected as one of 20 locations to help boost career education for young people, and the regional hub will be made up of 26 schools and colleges working together with universities to help prepare people for the world of work.
Excellent news, yeah, really good.
Really good news,
Is that through EU funding, do you know, or is that just, where's that funding come from? Is that just central government?
I think it's central government, and I think there's some involvement from the Humber Lep there as well.
Yeah.
So that's good that there's investment in the local area too.
Yeah.
This year's Hull Pride, that's taking place tomorrow. So I thought this would be a nice one, just to look back at Hull Pride. 40,000 people attended last year's event, which was the first national, it was given UK Pride status. So it's nice to see that, how things have changed there in the 15 years it's been running.
That's right, yeah, super. Yeah.
Have you got any pets, Jane?
I haven't, However, I haven't got any pets, but, I do dog agility on a Monday with my friend's dog. Which I really enjoy, and also I have had horses in the past, and I'm still very sort of keen on everything to do with horses. So,
well, a Hull mum rather has backed recovering from cancer. She's now opened a dog-friendly cafe in Hull called the Blue Whippet Cafe.
I think it's a brilliant idea. Yeah. In actual fact, my sister used to have about 8 husky dogs, and she used to race them, and she does puppy walking, all that kind of stuff. And she wanted to open the cafe because she said it's really hard if you're really into your dogs to actually find somewhere you can actually go and sit and have a cup of tea with like-minded people. So I think it's a brilliant idea.
It is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of dog-friendly cafes popping up, and it's a market for them where they can go to, isn't it?
And people are very keen on their animals and will spend money on buying treats for them and doggy cakes and ice cream.
There's a special dog cafe in the village where I live, and it's proper catered for that market. So it's good. There's a place where the owners can go and enjoy time with their canine friends.
Yeah.
This is a national story, but it's obviously in the local press about the Thai boys.
Oh, yeah.
Remarkable effort, wasn't it?
It was, but what really annoyed me was before they got them out was the reporters who went there and said to their families, "And how do you feel about your son being trapped in the cave? And how are you going to feel when he does eventually hopefully get out?" I thought, what a bizarre, banal, stupid question to ask a family. But it was a great effort. It
was a great effort, and obviously they've all come out now, and they've come out with remarkably well, haven't they?
Yeah. And the guy kind of kept their spirits up and doing the meditation, all that kind of stuff. I mean, phenomenal. Yeah, really good.
Safe and sound and all well.
Yeah.
And let's have a look at our last story here, Jane. 20-year pet ban for a man who kicked and punched his 2 dogs.
Yeah, there's 2 or 3 stories actually in the local papers about several people who actually have been either sentenced or actually fined or told they can't keep animals for a long, long time because of the way they've treated their animals. You just can't believe that people would do that, but
justice will always prevail. Jane, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for being my guest this Friday evening.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be with you again.
Wonderful. Now, here's all the latest sports news with Rob Dawley.
Starting with rugby, and it's Hull KR in action tonight. They will be hosting Warrington Wolves at the Cacon Craven Park at 8 p.m. Tim Sheens has made 2 changes to his 19-man squad that beat Widnes last Saturday. The Rovers boss has included centre Junior Vaivai and prop Lee Jewett to his squad, whilst Tommy Lee and Justin Carney miss out due to injury. Hull FC boss Lee Radford has also named his squad, who face a trip to Wakefield Trinity on Sunday. Jake Connor, Albert Kelly and Chris Green miss out due to injury. Jez Litton, Liam Harris and Mickey Payer come in, with starman for Tui Talanoa also back after nursing an ankle injury for the past few months. The game kicks off Sunday 3 p.m. at the Mobile Rocket Stadium. On to football now, and Scunthorpe United enter their final day of pre-season tour of Austria. They will be heading home tomorrow night after they prepare for their final friendly in time to face Nottingham Forest at Glanford Park on Wednesday at 7:30. Grimsby Town lost 3-1 to Rotherham United early this afternoon in a behind-closed-doors pre-season friendly. Striker JJ Hooper scored Town's goal, but that wasn't enough to stop the Millers as Michael Smith bagged the hat-trick. Finally, Hull City have released their new away kit ahead of the 2018-19 season. The orange and black Umbro kit has been a hit amongst fans since its announcement this morning. The photo shoot took place at the famous iconic Lord Line building in Hull. And that's all from the sport. Back to Luke in the studio.
Thanks very much, Rob. That's it for tonight, I'm afraid. As always, if you have a news story, then please visit our Facebook or Twitter pages. Details are appearing on the screen as I speak. You can email news@estuary.tv or phone our news desk, which is on 01472 31553, or write to us at the usual address, Estuary TV, Nuns Court at Laceby Road, Grimsby, DN345BQ. Have a great weekend from all of us here on the team. Good evening.